You mentioned this idea of history, seeing the United States be engaged in long peace talks. And when you mentioned the example of Vietnam, there wasn't very much peace during that process. Here's what he had to say about arming Ukraine.
They have rare earth, and they have oil and gas, and they have a lot of other things. And we're asking for security in our money. Ukraine has agreed to it.
You are not sending any more aid to Ukraine.
No, we are, but we want it secured, and the money is going to be secured. Because if we didn't do that, then Putin would say he won. We're the thing that's holding it back, and frankly, we'll go as long as we have to go.
What do you have to say to those who are questioning why the arms and the aid to Ukraine continues even to this point where it seems like Trump has said that he wants peace, and one of the quickest ways to peace is to stop the flow of the weapons?
You know, first of all, we have to, I think, can we reach an agreement that Donald Trump is oftentimes inarticulate?
Sure.
And that when he speaks, sometimes his words become sort of a mumbo jumbo of ideas and concepts. So let's throw that there. So what I'm asking you to do right now, working with me, is throw away that entire statement for a second and let's just talk reality. There's a budget right now that the House of Representatives, because last time I checked, the way the system works, I think the House has to pass a budget authorizing money to be expended to buy weapons. You know how much money is in that budget for Ukrainian weapons?
How much?
Zero. So you know how many weapons Ukraine's going to get in the next 6 months from the United States? Zero, nothing. There's nothing in the pipelines. They're squeezing out what was already authorized. Much of that has had a hold put on it. What Donald Trump is saying in his word salad is that we've got $350 billion. You know, I don't know the economics of the rare earth minerals, but that's a number he likes to throw out there. Some people dispute that number, but he says that's our security. And the other thing he's saying is that money, that 350, can open the door for Ukraine to buy weapons. They're going to pay for the weapons. Again, let's just go back to basics here. What's Donald Trump's fundamental thing here? We're done paying for the security of Ukraine. Are we in agreement on that? Are we? I mean, I think you should agree with me because that's where he's at. We, the United States of America, are done paying for Ukraine's weapons. We're finished. It's done. It's over. If Ukraine wants our weapons, and we have beautiful weapons, we have the best weapons in the world, and we can offer those weapons to them so that you have to pay for it. And the way you pay for it is through this deal. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about long-term security agreements. He's not talking about continuing to fund the Ukrainian army so they can continue to resist Russia, because we're not funding the Ukrainian army. We're done with funding. We dropped out of Ramstein. I just want to remind people of that. The primary vehicle for providing weapon support to Ukraine was the Ramstein contact group that we used to lead. Pete Hegseth went over there and turned it over to the British, and he said, "You're in charge. Europe is in charge. We're done. We're finished. We're not going to be arming Ukraine again." That's the reality. That's the facts on the ground. So let's stop making stuff up. Because you can take the word jumbo salad, but then you have to attach it to reality. There are no weapons going into Ukraine right now. There's no money for weapons. Congress hasn't allocated funding for weapons. So therefore, it's over. And that's, you know, Trump is saying that, you know, we're not going to leave Ukraine naked in any peace agreement. He's saying, and again, whatever Trump is saying today about the peace isn't going to happen. He has negotiators. The guy I trust more than anybody else is Steve Witkoff, because he's the guy that made this all happen. He's the guy that made it all about the economy. He's the guy in constant contact with Kirill Dmitriev, talking about the economic aspects of this. And he is positive. He is optimistic. He's the guy that I'm listening to when it comes to the details of this thing. There is no peace negotiation taking place right now. Everything Donald Trump is saying is just mumbo jumbo. There's no peace negotiation. The Russians have said the United States hasn't put anything on the table, and there have been no follow-on meetings. The meeting they had, I think today, in 6.5 hours in Istanbul, between the State Department and the Russian Foreign Ministry, was about the restoration of diplomatic relations. which is a prerequisite for any peace talks, because you have to have the connectivity between the Russians and Americans diplomatically before you can get into the complex business of having peace talks. So they're going to do this first. Meanwhile, today, the Russians slaughtered thousands of Ukrainians, captured more villages, dominant position, establishing fire control of the last remaining line of communication in the Kursk, and on and on and on and on and on. And the Ukrainians are in a panic. Zelensky, before he came over here, fired his, all of his generals because they're not getting the job done. And I think people. Here's where I think there's so many people out there that hate Donald Trump, despise Donald Trump, that they just want him to fail. And, I'm not going to use bad language on your show, Danny, because I respect you and I respect your audience, but you all can go to hell, to be honest. This isn't about loving Trump, but you're hypocrites in the extreme. You say you want peace. Oh, we believe in peace. We want peace. We want the war to end. There's one guy that's making that happen right now. His name's Donald Trump, but you hate him so much that you're desperately trying to pull things out of thin air to make it look as though he's a failure, that he's a liar, that he's a hypocrite, that he's doing the exact opposite. The facts just don't align up for the people that are, voting against Trump. The man is on a singular path towards peace. Let me give it again.